Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to episode 21 of this series, All That I've Learned from Tony Robbins Over the Years, a series that I'm dedicating to the big man, given that I have had 30 years since my last UPW back in the mid-90s. I was fortunate enough this year, 2023, to attend UPW. I'd booked it in 2020, and because of COVID and all the issues that we all faced throughout the world, the program was postponed for a couple of years, and then last year it wasn't held, and this year, thank God, they went ahead and the tickets were honoured by Success Resources Australia, which is also something which is really, really good. And I had the time of my life. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And what I want to do today is I want to focus on one of the aspects from the UPW, and something that, of course, I was also covered in 94 and 95, and is a significant contribution to us through his books, Unlimited Power and Awaken the Giant Within, as well as the tape series, Power Talk, which I went over and over and over again as a young bloke, driving into the city in the morning and back home in the afternoon. I just couldn't wait to pop a tape into the tape system in the car and just listen to his interviews and whatever he had to say about life. And one of the key points, one of the really, really important points, is that we need to condition ourselves in order to be effective. And the conditioning process is always happening, but in many ways it's happening without us knowing that it's happening. We're being primed by media, we're being primed by our environment, we're being primed from the news, the YouTubes, the posts, and all of the things that we're focusing on. And the more emotional we are, the more they are able to trigger our emotions, the more impact those things have on our lives. So what I want to do is focus on this drilling and conditioning process, and just give you a couple of examples that I've been fortunate enough to have experienced in my life. For those who don't know me, I did spend quite an amount of time throughout my life participating in martial arts, Goju-Ryu, and I started with Goju Kai with Merv Oakley, and then continued along the same stream by doing Goju-Ryu with Shihan Andrew Rubis and Shihan Stefan Rubis. And what I learned in martial arts, and martial arts is just very, very simple. You just do drills over and over and over again, and you do those drills with emotion. And those drills, when you add one to the other, become automatic reactions in time of altercation, in time of self-defense. A lot of people really, really enjoy martial arts when they first go there. But what happens is that 1, 2, 3 years into it, you just realise that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So you're drilling the things that you drilled before, and then you're just adding combinations to those drills and getting better and better at them. So where I'm going to with this is that it is important to understand that it's all about doing a half dozen things, but doing them very, very well, so that you can connect those things with other things that you learned, and then you get to do it automatically. You don't have to think about it. So you don't have to think about blocking and striking and combining certain elements. So where we're getting at is the importance of drilling with emotion. And years ago I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, and Tony Robbins, for those who don't know him, is the master, is the father of mind mapping. And during that presentation, during that session that we had, we talked about how the brain worked, and he said that everything that comes through our senses is stored in our subconscious. And we've got two aspects to our brain, to our minds. We've got the conscious and the subconscious. And between those two is a thing called a reticular activating system, which is a filter, something that filters what we can focus on. It filters and allows things to bubble to our conscious from our subconscious. Because if we didn't have a filter on our brain, what would happen would be everything that we had coming through our senses would bubble up, and we'd absolutely go crazy. So what he says is that the human brain is the closest thing to infinity. The number of neurons and synapses and combinations that we have in the brain are second to none, and it really makes us and separates us from everything else in the universe. But he said if you do something once, you create a synapse, a connection between two neurons. If you do it twice, that little connection gets a little bit bigger and deeper. But if you do it over and over and over again, it gets stronger and stronger, deeper and deeper. And from a goat path or a sheep pad, it becomes, an avenue, a road, a street, a highway. And eventually, if you do it with enough emotion, it becomes an autobahn, and it just happens and electrifies without you having to do anything about it, because it's ingrained in your brain. So knowing this, Anthony Robbins also gives us the example of the chimpanzee, how you can take a chimpanzee's finger and just flick it up and down like this. And I think he mentioned 10,000 times or something like that, and it becomes a conditioned response. But if you did it just 200 times and included some pleasure hormones, then it would become a conditioned response much quicker. So what I learned with martial arts and karate is that we did the drills over and over and over again, but we did the drills with ki. You do it with shouting. And what happens is when you're shouting, you become adrenalized, you become cortisol. Your body is infused at that moment with adrenaline, and at the same time you're also firing off pleasure senses. You're also getting dopamine as well being released, I would imagine, which makes us want to enjoy that process. And it's that conditioning with significant amounts of emotion that makes it really, really powerful. So as you can see today, we've got this ocean liner coming in. I'm at the International Passenger Terminal here at Circular Quay, and it is pretty special. It's not a spectacular sort of morning, but once again, the fact that we've got this ocean liner coming in makes it that much more special. So getting back to martial arts, it's all about drilling, it's all about conditioning, but conditioning with strong emotion. I'll just change my vantage point. The other thing that we learned from Anthony Robbins back in the 90s was the importance of adding reward to things that we do in order to anchor those things. And what Anthony Robbins did is he gave us an example of a dolphin trainer, how a dolphin trainer teaches dolphins to do certain tricks in a beautiful, humane way. And he said that the key to dolphin training, just like the key to training of ourselves and anybody else, is to try and associate reward with certain behaviours, knowing very well that all people are habitual in nature. If you watch a person, if you watch a child, if you watch a dog for long enough, what you will realise is that they do things over and over again. But these things are triggered in some way by something, and we need to be detectives to know what triggers us and how we react to it, to either do more of it and to understand the trigger and to accentuate those triggers so you can accentuate the outcomes and the rewards, or to do something to stop those things so we don't have those issues. But what Anthony Robbins said, and I think it was an interview that he had with a dolphin trainer, and he said back then, and the dolphin trainer basically said, of course, not Anthony, but Anthony was able to ask the right questions and to focus and to target the right outcomes in terms of the discussion. Because as we know, and Anthony Robbins always says, ask a dumb question, you'll get a dumb answer. Ask an empowering question and you'll get an empowering answer. So what he said was that when you're training a dolphin doesn't really know what you want it to do. So you need to pique their interest and to observe them. And when they do something that is on the right path, you reward them with a piece of squid, a piece of sardine or a mackerel, something just to feed them. And the dolphin is able to associate food with a particular behaviour, a particular response. And then you get to watch and be patient, and when it does it again, you reward it again. But the dolphin trainer says that, there comes a point where, a reward for a particular behaviour, even to a dolphin, becomes expected and boring. So the key to being a dolphin trainer, the key to getting the best out of oneself is, of course, to reward the behaviours that you want to have continued. But what you need to do is you need to include a thing called a jackpot. And what is a jackpot, you may ask, and how does it work? The dolphin trainer said that it is important that when you're training a dolphin to offer a jackpot every now and then. And a jackpot is when you throw in 3 or 4 fish, a squid, an octopus, and a toy or some other morsel. Because what that does is that makes the dolphin respond in a very, very positive way with a lot of emotion. And what it does is it even anchors what it's doing and the love that it exists between the trainer and the connection between the trainer and the dolphin. so that the dolphin receives a massive reward. But the trick is with a jackpot is you don't give it all the time. You give it randomly. And why do you give it randomly? You give it randomly so that the dolphin doesn't know when it's going to do something and get the jackpot. So every time it does something, it does it to the best of its ability, hoping and expecting to get a jackpot, and it just keeps on going. And that way you keep its interest, you keep it focused, you keep it engaged, and it doesn't get bored. And there's a big lesson for us as well. Too many times we do things, we have significant wins, but we don't reward ourselves. We don't give ourselves jackpots. And Anthony Robbins said that, or the dolphin trainer said to Anthony Robbins, you don't necessarily have to give the jackpot when it does something right. He says you just randomly give a jackpot even when it doesn't deserve it. I'll just pause on that. Even when the dolphin doesn't deserve a jackpot, what you do is you give it a jackpot just to keep it interested. What a powerful lesson to humans as well, that we don't have to be entitled. We don't have to earn the jackpot. And God gives us jackpots all the time, even though we haven't earned it. How many times have we disappointed our partners? How many times have we disappointed our parents? How many times have we disappointed people in our lives? And yet they still love us. They still treat us with respect. Not everybody, but some people. And it's that love that you get, that unconditional love that you get when you least expect it, when you've least earned it, that means a lot to a lot of people. So there's a really important lesson there, especially with people who are incarcerated, people who have been put in prison, feeling that once a criminal, always a criminal. But we need to understand that everybody deserves the love of God. Everybody deserves dignity. And we make mistakes from time to time. We're all work in progress. Some people learn from their mistakes. Other people learn from the love of others who accept them and love them even though they're imperfect. And we also need to love ourselves even though we sometimes think that we're not perfect in what we're doing. So we mustn't let ourselves down. We mustn't let others down. We mustn't let our children, our grandchildren down. We need to express a thing called God's love. And God's love is the love of the Father to the prodigal son. Even though somebody else thinks that they don't deserve it, we need to be unconditional in our love to others, to our neighbours, to ourselves, and to understand, as Anthony Robbins says, we're all at different seasons, we're all at different chapters, we're all at different places in our lives, and we need to meet ourselves and we need to meet others where we're at and not where they're at, not where we're at, in order to connect and in order to be a better person. So a very powerful lesson. We need to love ourselves in order to love others. We need to love God in order to experience love. And once we love God and experience God's love, we can love ourselves and understand, as I said before, that we're work in progress. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have winters, summers, springs and autumns. And we could have all of that in one day, Just looking at the weather here, it's springtime, but it looks more like winter. It feels like winter. I pity these poor people who have been on this ship over the past couple of days, knowing how bad the weather was here in Sydney and overnight. But we need to once again understand what makes others tick, what makes us tick, and to learn the importance of conditioning, to learn the importance of doing things over and over again, having purposeful training to do things, to bend us, to stretch us, to increase the portfolio of patterns that we have available to us so that we can make sense of the world, make sense of the decisions that we make, and to enjoy our lives and not to live in dread. So this ship has pulled up to the harbour. They're just going to tie up those ropes there, and another day has started. Another day where we can start afresh, where we can try and anchor the things that work for us, to try and remove from our inventory, from our portfolio of habits, the things that don't work for us, the things that hold us back, and to understand that there are triggers, and the triggers in our lives are stacked. It's up to us to stack them, to stack the deck with the cards that we want to have in the deck, rather than the triggers and the cards that others want to deal us. We can do that at the end of the day because we're the authors, we're the conductors, we're the captains, the coaches of our lives in partnership with God. And as I mentioned last night at fellowship, it's all very, very simple. As Christians, when we are christened, we are dedicated to God. We become God's servant, and God becomes our servant. And our role in life is to simply love God with all our heart, mind and soul, to worship God with all our heart, mind and soul, and to ask ourselves a simple question. Is what I am currently doing, or is what I am about to do, God-pleasing? And if the answer is yes, then do it. Do it with all your authenticity. Do it with all your personhood. Because by doing and by partnering with God and being a co-worker with God, then we can make our world a better place, as long as what we're doing is not selfish but selfless. We're doing it to serve God, to make it better for others, and by making it better for others, of course it's going to be better for us as well. And once we serve God, we submit to God, and we do His will, not our will, then we learn how to love ourselves. And the important thing is to love yourself, because by loving yourself, then and only then your cup will overfilleth, and you're able to love others as you love yourself. Remembering the Lord Prayer, we need to love ourselves and to love others, but the only way we can love others is by first loving ourselves. And I get back to this as well because Tony Robbins reminds us that in our lives we do need to be selfish up to a certain point, because we need to invest in ourselves. We need to get to a point where we take the gifts, the skills, the charismata that we are given by God in our lives and use them to not make our lives better, but to help others in ways. Because as we mentioned before, time and time again, God makes us all different. We are all different. We're all variable. We are different for a reason. We are different from each other so that we can be different for each other. To take the skills, to take the gifts, to take the patterns that we have and to share those with others who have yet to have discovered certain things in life. Because we hear time and time again from Anthony Robbins that life is cyclical. And all of the things that we've ever thought about, all the concerns, all the problems we've ever had have been experienced by other people. And we need to appreciate that. And that nothing in the world is new. Nothing but nothing in the world is new. Nothing is original, because everything has already happened before. It's just new to me. It's just new to you. It's just new to us. That's what makes it new. Doesn't mean that it's new. As we said, the challenge that we face today, challenges that the ancient Greeks philosophers toyed with 2,500 years ago, and all the philosophers of the world and all the peoples of the world have had the similar challenges, the similar trying to figure out what the meaning of life is. So it's all about giving. It's all about giving of yourself, giving with love, and having and expressing God's love, which is this unconditional love. Because when it's all said and done, we disappoint God on a daily basis. We let each other down on a daily basis. We let ourselves down on a daily basis. But we mustn't ever give up hope. Hope of a better day, because the best is always yet to come. And because we're growing and developing and becoming better versions of ourselves, yes, we're going to have some up days and down days. We're going to take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But eventually, hopefully, we'll get from one side to the other, and to look back over our lives and be proud of our outcomes, to be happy that we've become and that we were God's servant, and that we tried wherever possible to do what was best at that particular moment. And of course we're going to make mistakes, but those mistakes are for various reasons, because we all have our fate. Just because it worked for somebody else or it worked for us in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in the future. We just got to keep on going. We just got to keep on altering and changing our attempts and our approach, and to do the things, as we mentioned before, that are God pleasing, and to work with God and to allow God's will to be done, but to do it with action. We can't just be passive in life. God wants us to be an active participant. He wants us to be an active partner in His creation. So wishing you all the very best. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned yesterday, what I plan to do is I plan to do a tribute to the great man, and to do a Tony Robbins 365, where I do a different vlog every single day for 365 days, to develop a library of material where I express my gratitude to Anthony Robbins, and to share with everybody all the things that I have learned over the years from Anthony Robbins, the great man. A man who is a leader in his field, a man who is without peer when it comes to communication, when it comes to peak performance coaching, and when it comes to doing what he does. He just does it better than anybody else that I've ever seen. And his programs, his UPW, is just mind-blowing. For those who have experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. You'll never get to experience anything like that again from a secular perspective. But what we need to do is we need to put into perspective and try and bridge the secularity of it to the spirituality of how it all works, taking the science and taking the workings and being able to understand it from a spiritual perspective. I am Greek Orthodox, and what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to link the rituals and the things that we do within the Christian faith with a lot of the science that Tony Robbins has been able to share with us at these seminars. So wishing you all the best, have a wonderful day, and until we meet again, live with passion. Take care, bye for now.